Good morning, Dementia Hero family, and welcome to the clinic. Today is the first Dementia Hero Clinic where we're going to discuss all things dementia. We're going to start with a general question that I get quite often, reasonably so, is what is dementia anyway? Because the word is not descriptive. So when we think of the word dementia, the image that comes to mind is clear as mud. We think of memory loss. We think of Alzheimer's. We think of what the media has depicted dementia being. So that becomes our perception. If your kids or grandkids ever watched, or you yourself ever watched the Will Smith movie Men in Black, and they did the blinky thing where they erased the memory. So I'm going to do the blinky thing to you. And I want you to have a clean slate when you think of the word dementia. I want to reframe your perception. So when we think of dementia, I want you to think of one thing: brain failure. When you think of an organ failing, you think of all the processes that organ does. I want you to picture that in your brain and imagine each piece of that failing a little bit each day. It's more than memory loss. Memory is a piece of it, but it's much more than just memory loss. Good examples are heart failure. When we think of heart failure, what do we think of? Well, the heart's the pump, right? It pumps blood throughout the whole body. If it's failing, the pump's going to back up, and then we're going to see more fluid in the feet, lower extremities. We might have back up into the lungs and shortness of air. So things that come along with heart failure. Kidney failure. What happens then? What do the kidneys do? The kidneys filter out and they produce urine. So if we have kidney failure, we're not filtering what we used to be able to do. And we might not be able to produce urines. We may be on dialysis. So these images are already in your brain when you say these words. Liver failure, filtering out impurities, producing cholesterol, all the things that liver does. When your liver fails, it can no longer function the way that it did before. So we're back to brain failure. Dementia affects the brain asymmetrically. So you have the left side of the brain, you have the right side of the brain. The left side of the brain is mainly literary, language, processing language, mathematical in nature. There's a lot that goes into the left side of the brain, and we'll go more into that into detail during my Dementia Hero Roadmap, which launches in October. The right side of the brain is your artistic side. So music, art, your right temporal lobes holds your creative side of language. So your social chit chat, your bad words are held there too. There's a lot more that the right side of the brain does. Again, we're going to go into that more in detail, but so dementia affects the left side much more than the right side. And let's look at these two brains here. The one you can tell on the left is healthy. You can see the color is vibrant. It is plump. It is, some people might describe it as being juicy looking in appearance. The one on the right is someone with Alzheimer's. I want to back up and say that Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia, but it's, when you have dementia does not mean you have Alzheimer's, but there are so many similarities, and the syndromes, the symptoms are very similar. But you can tell how shriveled the brain is. You can actually see the failure of each and individual cell, how it shrivels up. It's not as plump. The color, you can tell the discoloration of the tissue itself. It looks unhealthy compared to the one on the left, right? So imagine how that would affect our ability to our brain to function, what all it does. And dementia will affect the way that we receive data, the way that we take in data, the way our brain takes in data. So let's talk about the ways that we do that. One is vision, what we see through our eyes, hearing, but not production of not the sound that we hear, because you don't have to raise your voice with someone that has dementia unless they have, hearing loss prior to all of this. But it's not the sound that they have difficulty time with, it's the language that's received. They have a hard time receiving language and expressing language both ways. Sensory, touch and feel. Things feel different. Your touch feels different. Their clothes feel different. Their shoes feel different. Everything feels different. Taste and smell are ways we take in data. They're down at the bottom because they're affected to a lesser extent with most forms of dementia. They are affected. Four truths. This is from Teepa Snow, Positive Approach to Care. The four truths about dementia is 2 parts of the brain are dying. Okay, brain failure. It can't be fixed, at least yet. There's no cure yet. It is progressive. It will get worse. It is always changing and worsening. It's not going to improve. It's not going to get better. It's always going to be changing and worsening. It is terminal and it will kill. Guess what else is terminal? We are. Life. Life is terminal. I'm going to back up here. When during diagnosis, your loved one may have received a level 1 through 7. So that's the global deterioration scale. Pleasant, right? Global deterioration scale. How pleasant that sounds to our ears. And it will say 1 through 7 where they are stage wise, but it doesn't give you a good idea of what abilities are retained at those phases. What can they still do at those phases? So what I follow is the GEM state model. Again, this is through Teepa Snow, A Positive Approach to Care. And she has formulated this great stages of dementia and relates them to a type of gem, a type of jewel. And we're going to go much more into detail into this during the roadmap that's launching in October. But it gives you an idea of just looking at this one picture here, things that they can do, how it affects their vision. If you see on Diamond, scuba vision, okay? So a sapphire is a true blue. It's a normal brain, but I can't say I'm ever really a sapphire. I could almost put myself in a diamond category. But as far as dementia and vision, the way it affects your vision, scuba vision. So they lose their peripheral vision. If you've ever been into the clinic and they do a vision test on you, and do you see my fingers now? 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 They're testing your peripheral vision. So with dementia, the peripheral vision decreases and they become more into tunnel vision. So with the diamond phase, their vision is now like a scuba mask. So put your hands over your head, just like this, and wrap your hands around your face. You can't cheat, right? And look around the room on what this looks like to you with the scuba mask on. And if they get into the emerald phase, when they get into the emerald phase, it goes to binocular vision. Do this. Close your fingers all the way. Binocular vision. Now look down. Look down at your feet. Look down at the table below you. Look around the room. And when we get down to a ruby, monocular. Close this eye. Oh, sorry. Close this eye. Monocular vision. one eye, very tunneled though. Now imagine you're the caregiver and you're talking to me, telling me that you have a plate on the table that I need to be paying attention to and listen to what you're saying. And you've chopped up the chicken for me, you've diced up the carrots for me, and I'm listening. I'm trying to receive the language you're giving me, but it's in a delayed uh, rec- um, um, receive in a delayed form. Trying to get that phrase out. So I'm listening to what you're saying, but I'm also going to need to be looking at the plate to see what to do with this. But you're still talking. I hear the sound, but I'm not really receiving any information because my receiving language from you has paused while I'm trying to receive the vision of the food on the table in front of me. But you're still talking. So I leave the vision and I go back to what you're saying and try to receive what you're telling me. And so it's kind of confusing now. Just imagine that. That's just one small example of what it can be like um, with dementia in a day. So if we think about reframe our brain to brain failure, that's a good way to describe dementia to your family because you're going to be talking about it at family get-togethers and reunions. They're going to know what's going on with mom or dad or grandma or grandpa, whoever you're caring for, whoever your loved one is that you're partnering to care for them. They're going to want to know what's going on. This is a good way to explain is their brain is failing. They have brain failure. I really wish they would have I wish they would change. Dementia itself is not a true diagnosis, but I wish they would change that phrase from dementia, just not descriptive, to brain failure. But you can do that. You can do that in your own brain and you can change that term. We're going to delve deeper into different topics and how it changes the data that we receive and how they go through the day processing all of this. Until next time, I'll see you in the clinic.